The wail of an ambulance shattered the stillness of the Shanghai night, cutting through the low hum of traffic and distant chatter. Inside the brightly lit emergency wing of Xinhua General Hospital, Dr. Selena Brooks yanked on her gloves, adrenaline thrumming through her veins. 78-year-old female, possible cardiac arrest, a paramedic barked as the doors burst open. Selena's sharp brown eyes locked on the gurney. An elderly woman lay there, her face pale and waxy, lips tinged with blue. Selena's heart lurched. This woman was slipping away. "Clear the hallways," Selena ordered in flawless Mandarin, her voice cutting through the chaos. The nurses jumped into action. "Vitals are unstable," the paramedic added breathlessly. "Let's stabilize her." "Now," Selena commanded, rolling up beside the gurney. "Give me 300 milligrams of aspirin. Stat. Prep the defibrillator." The patient's heart monitor flatlined. "No, no, no, don't you dare," Selena muttered under her breath, pressing down hard with chest compressions. 1, 2, 3, clear. The defibrillator sent a jolt through the woman's frail body. Nothing. Selena gritted her teeth. She couldn't let this woman die. She had fought too hard for her place here, to be seen as more than the black foreign doctor. She would not lose this battle. Again. Charge to 360. Clear. A second jolt. The monitor stuttered. Then, beep, beep, beep. A heartbeat. "She's back," the nurse gasped in relief. Selena let out a shaky breath, sweat dampening her curls beneath her surgical cap. She removed her gloves slowly, her chest rising and falling. "She's stable," she said, turning to the patient's distraught son. "She's going to make it." The man dropped to his knees, bowing his head. "Thank you, doctor. You saved my mother." Selena swallowed the lump in her throat. "I was just doing my job." But deep down, she felt the weight of it, the fragile, miraculous line between life and death. Hours later, the hospital was quiet again. Selena stood alone by the window, staring out at the neon-lit city below. Shanghai was beautiful, vibrant, and lonely. She had left her family behind in the U.S., chasing her dream of practicing medicine abroad, only to find herself fighting skepticism at every turn. She had to be twice as good, twice as fast, twice as perfect. Saving Madame Yue tonight had been more than just duty. It was proof, to herself, to her colleagues, that she belonged here. The next day, Selena was called to the private suite where her patient now rested. She expected a quick checkup and a polite thank you. What she got was something else entirely. The elderly woman, now sitting upright in bed, radiated strength despite her recent brush with death. Her silver hair was swept neatly into a bun, and her sharp dark eyes studied Selena with unnerving intensity. "You," the woman said in lightly accented English. "You saved my life." Selena offered a warm but professional smile. "I'm just glad you're feeling better, Madame Yue." The woman's lips curved into a slow smile, one that seemed to hold secrets. "It was fate. You appeared at the exact moment I needed you most. That cannot be coincidence." Selena chuckled softly, trying to ease the tension. "I think it was just good timing." But Madame Yue wasn't laughing. She reached out, taking Selena's hand in hers with surprising strength. "No, my dear. Fate brought you to me, and I intend to honor it." Selena blinked, caught off guard. "Honor it, how?" Madame Yue's eyes glimmered. "Dinner," she said simply. "Come to my home tomorrow night. My family must meet the woman who gave me a second chance at life." The following evening, Selena arrived at Madame Yue's estate and nearly stopped breathing. The mansion was breathtaking, a sprawling compound with curved, tiled roofs, red lanterns swaying in the breeze, koi ponds glistening beneath moonlight. Wealth and history whispered from every corner, making Selena's modest upbringing feel worlds away. Inside, the Yue family gathered around a long lacquered table. Selena felt the weight of every curious gaze as she entered, her simple navy blue dress suddenly feeling inadequate. Madame Yue, however, was radiant. She rose with surprising agility and clasped Selena's hands warmly. "This," she announced to her family, "is Dr. Selena Brooks, the woman who saved me." A murmur rippled through the room. Selena offered polite smiles, bowing slightly in respect. As the dinner progressed, Madame Yue's tone shifted from gratitude to something sharper. "My grandson," she said casually over a cup of fragrant tea, "is a very busy man. Handsome, successful, but foolishly single." Her sharp gaze slid toward Selena. Perhaps you two should meet. Selena almost choked on her dumpling. Oh, that's kind of you, Madam Yue, but unnecessary. I'm sure he's very busy. Too busy for love, Madam Yue sighed dramatically. Still, fate works in mysterious ways. Selena laughed nervously, brushing off the comment. Surely the old woman was just teasing. But later, as Selena left the mansion, her heels clicking softly against the stone path, she couldn't shake the feeling that Madame Yue had been completely serious. Somewhere in the city, Adrian Yue, the elusive grandson, was about to hear about the dinner he had so rudely skipped, and about the foreign doctor his grandmother was now obsessively determined to bring into their family. And Selena? She had no idea her life was about to change forever. The next morning, Selena Brooks was back at Xinhua General Hospital, trying to shake off the surreal memory of the previous night. Madame Yue's lavish home, her powerful family, the sharp gleam in her eyes when she spoke of fate, it was all still a blur. Selena pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on her charts. She didn't have time to get entangled in a wealthy family's affairs. She was a doctor, nothing more. Dr. Brooks. The voice of Dr. Lin, her colleague, broke her concentration. You've been called to the director's office, he said, raising a brow. Looks like the higher-ups have finally noticed your work. Selena forced a polite smile. Thanks, Dr. Lin. Inside, her stomach twisted. She'd been in Shanghai for 3 years, pouring herself into this hospital. The position of medical director had recently opened, and Selena knew she deserved it. But there had been whispers, ugly whispers, that a foreign woman, especially a single one, would never be chosen for such a prestigious role. As she walked to the director's office, she murmured under her breath, "Just focus on the patients. Everything else will fall into place." Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Adrian Yue strode through the glass doors of Yue Holdings, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate he had built from the ground up. His tailored charcoal suit hugged his tall, lean frame, his dark hair perfectly in place. Adrian didn't do distractions. He didn't do love, either. The last time he had given his heart, Jia Li, the woman he once dreamed of building a future with, had abandoned him when his company faced its darkest hour. She had left without a word, disappearing overseas while he clawed his way back to the top. Now, all that remained of his heart was a wall of ice. His phone buzzed. Seeing the caller ID, Adrian sighed. He answered reluctantly. "Grandmother," he said, his voice smooth but clipped. "Adrian." Madame Yue's tone was deceptively sweet. "Where are you right now?" "Work," he replied flatly. "You should be on your way to the restaurant I reserved. I've arranged for you to meet someone very special. Very important." Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose. "I told you, I don't have time for blind dates. Cancel it." Adrian Yue. Madame Yue snapped, her sharpness cutting through the line. "This woman saved my life. You will meet her, and you will show respect." "Grandmother." Click. She hung up on him. Adrian clenched his jaw, staring at his reflection in the sleek office window. He should go. Just to appease her. But his schedule was packed, and honestly, he didn't believe in setups. In the end, work won. He didn't show up. Selena sat alone at the upscale restaurant, surrounded by couples laughing and sharing dishes of steaming dumplings and fragrant noodles. She checked her phone again. Nothing. The hostess passed by with a sympathetic glance. "Would you like to order now, ma'am?" Selena's cheeks burned. "No, thank you. I think I'll just wait a little longer." But as the minutes ticked into hours, the truth became clear. He wasn't coming. By the time Selena left the restaurant, humiliation churned in her stomach. She didn't even know this Adrian Yue, but the sting of being stood up was sharp. Worse, she had dressed up for this, curled her hair, worn a soft lilac dress instead of her usual scrubs. "Never again," she muttered, wrapping her coat tighter around her as she braved the cool evening breeze. Whatever matchmaking scheme Madame Yue was plotting, Selena wanted no part of it. Back at the Yue mansion, Madame Yue sat in her armchair like a general readying for battle. When Selena arrived, she was still fuming. "He didn't come?" Madame Yue's voice was dangerously quiet. Selena shook her head, forcing a polite smile. "It's fine, really. I understand he must be very busy." "Busy?" Madame Yue slammed her teacup down so hard the saucer rattled. "Busy is no excuse to disrespect you, or me." Selena blinked at the sudden fire in her eyes. "Madame Yue." No, 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 the older woman interrupted, pacing the room. My grandson thinks he can ignore me.
Huh. We shall see about that.
Selena shifted uneasily. Please, don't be upset. It was just a misunderstanding. Madame Yue stopped pacing and turned, her expression softening toward Selena. You are too kind, my dear. But Adrian has gone too far. He needs a push. Selena's stomach sank.
A push.
Madame Yue's eyes glittered like a cat who had just spotted prey.
Yes.
If he won't date you, then he will marry you. Selena froze, certain she had misheard. And marry?
Madame Yue, that's no.
Absolutely not. The older woman waved her off. You will see. This is for his own good. For both of you. Selena left that evening with her heart pounding, determined to stay far away from the Yue family's drama. The next day, she was called back to the hospital director's office. This time, the news was a dagger to the heart. Dr. Brooks, the director said carefully, you've been an outstanding candidate for the medical director position. However, he hesitated. The board has concerns about appearances. They've decided to select someone else. Selena's stomach dropped. Appearances? You mean because I'm not married? The director wouldn't meet her eyes. You know how conservative our board can be. A single woman in a leadership role, they're not ready for that. Selena left the office in a daze. Years of sacrifice, countless nights on call, all dismissed because of outdated tradition. As she walked through the hospital corridor, her phone buzzed. A message from Madame Yue.
Come to the house tonight. It's important.
Selena almost didn't go. But something in her gut told her she needed answers. Madame Yue was waiting in the grand parlor, her cane propped beside her. Adrian stood near the window, his broad shoulders tense beneath a dark suit. When Selena entered, his gaze swept over her, cool and assessing. This is her, he asked, his voice low, smooth, and devoid of warmth. Selena's fists curled at her sides.
So this is the man who stood me up.
Adrian, Madame Yue said sharply, apologize. He didn't. Instead, he strode across the room, stopping only when he stood inches from Selena. His dark eyes burned with an intensity that made her breath catch. Let's go get the marriage certificate, he said flatly. Selena blinked, stunned. Excuse me. We're getting married, Adrian said, each word clipped and final. Right now. And just like that, Selena's world tilted. Selena sat in the passenger seat of Adrian's sleek black Bentley, her hands clutched tightly in her lap. The city lights blurred past the windows, but all she could focus on were the last words he'd spoken back at Madame Yue's house. Let's go get the marriage certificate. It didn't feel real. Marriage was supposed to be about love, about choice, about two people deciding to spend their lives together.
Not whatever this was.
She turned to look at Adrian, his chiseled profile unreadable in the passing glow of street lamps. This is insane, she whispered. We don't even know each other. You don't have to know me, Adrian replied coolly, his voice smooth and cutting. We just need a piece of paper to satisfy my grandmother and, apparently, your hospital board. Her mouth fell open. You knew. A corner of his lip lifted, not in a smile, but in something bitter. Madame, you told me you were passed over for the promotion. A single woman as medical director? The board would never allow it. Selena flinched. So you think that gives you the right to trap me into marriage? Trapping you? Adrian's dark eyes flicked to her, sharp as a blade. You can say no. Walk away. But you'll stay stuck exactly where you are, watching someone else take the position you deserve. The car went silent except for the hum of the engine. Selena's mind raced. Every instinct screamed at her to get out, to run. Yet deep down, she knew he was right. She had worked too hard to let them push her aside because she didn't fit their outdated expectations. Her voice trembled when she finally spoke.
Fine.
We'll do it. But only for appearances. Adrian's expression didn't change.
Agreed.
The marriage bureau was nearly empty when they arrived. The board clerk barely glanced at them as they signed their names, posed for a stiff photo, and received the official red booklets declaring them husband and wife. Selena stared at hers in disbelief. Just like that, her life had changed forever. Congratulations, the clerk droned, handing them the documents. Adrian tucked his into his pocket without so much as a glance. We're done here. Selena bit back the sharp words bubbling up in her throat. This wasn't a wedding. It was a transaction. Back at Madame Yu's mansion, the old woman's eyes glistened with tears of joy when she saw the certificates. "Oh, my precious children," she cried, clutching Selena's hands. "You've made me the happiest grandmother in the world." Selena forced a smile, guilt twisting in her chest. Madame Yue didn't deserve to know the truth, that their marriage was nothing more than an arrangement. Adrian's voice was calm but firm. "Grandmother, don't overexert yourself. You need rest." Yes, Madame Yue said, waving him off. "But promise me you'll come to dinner tomorrow, as husband and wife." Adrian's jaw ticked, but he nodded. "We'll be here." The next few weeks passed in a strange, surreal blur. Selena moved through her days at the hospital with the same dedication as always, but whispers followed her now. Colleagues who once looked down on her suddenly treated her with a mixture of respect and envy. She got the promotion. Medical director of Xinhua General Hospital. Her dream come true. Yet when she went home at night, there was no celebration. Adrian lived in his penthouse across the city, and they didn't speak unless absolutely necessary. Their so-called marriage was nothing more than a fragile facade. Sometimes, when she lay awake staring at the ceiling, Selena wondered if this was what success was supposed to feel like: lonely, hollow, built on lies. One rainy evening, Selena returned home to find an urgent message waiting for her.
"Come quickly. It's Madame Yue." Her heart seized. She grabbed her bag and rushed to the mansion, fear clawing at her chest. When she arrived, the household staff was in chaos. Madame Yue lay pale and trembling on her bed, clutching her chest. Adrian was at her side, his face a mask of barely contained panic. "Grandmother!" Selena gasped, rushing forward. She immediately checked the old woman's pulse and breathing. "Her condition is unstable," she said, turning to Adrian. "We need to get her to the hospital now." Adrian didn't hesitate. "Do whatever you need to. Just save her." They worked together seamlessly, Selena's medical expertise guiding every move. By the time Madame Yue stabilized, Adrian's shirt was damp with sweat, his usual icy composure cracked by raw fear. When Madame Yue finally opened her eyes, they shimmered with tears. "My dear children," she rasped. "I can't live alone anymore. Promise me, you'll stay here. With me. Just for a little while." Selena froze. "Madame Yue." "Please," the elderly woman whispered, her frail hand grasping Selena's tightly. "I need you both." Selena glanced at Adrian, silently pleading for him to refuse. But his grandmother's face was so fragile, her voice so desperate, that even he couldn't bring himself to say no. "We'll stay," Adrian said quietly. Selena's heart sank. She knew there was no escaping this now. That night, Selena unpacked her things in one of the mansion's guest rooms. The sprawling estate felt like a gilded cage, each ornate hallway whispering of secrets and schemes. When Adrian appeared at her door, she stiffened. "You'll be in the East Wing," he said, his tone neutral. "I'll be in the West. That should keep things simple." "Simple?" Selena echoed bitterly. "There's nothing simple about this, Adrian." For a moment, his mask slipped. Something dark and conflicted flickered in his eyes. "You're right," he admitted quietly. "But my grandmother's health comes first." As he turned to leave, Selena spoke without thinking. "What about us?" Adrian froze. Slowly, he glanced back at her. "There is no us, Selena. Not in the way you mean." His words sliced through her like a blade, leaving her breathless and aching. When the door closed behind him, Selena sank onto the bed, her heart pounding. She had agreed to this arrangement for her career, for her future. But now, trapped in this house with Adrian and his formidable grandmother, she couldn't help but wonder. Had she just stepped into a game she didn't know how to play? The Yue mansion was breathtakingly beautiful, yet to Selena Brooks, it felt like a trap cloaked in silk and gold. Every hallway was lined with priceless vases, ancient scrolls, and portraits of the Yue family's ancestors, their painted eyes seeming to follow her wherever she went. The morning after they moved in, Selena woke to the sound of birdsong and the aroma of freshly brewed tea. For a fleeting moment, she forgot the bizarre reality of her life. Then she turned and saw the red marriage booklet on her nightstand, and everything came rushing back. "This isn't real," she reminded herself. "It's just temporary." Pulling on her robe, Selena headed downstairs for breakfast. Madame Yue was already seated at the grand dining table, a vision of elegance in a pale silk cheongsam. Adrian sat across from her, looking impossibly composed as he sipped his tea. "Good morning, my dear."
Madame Yue greeted Selena warmly. Come, sit beside Adrian. Selena hesitated, glancing at Adrian. His face was unreadable, but he pulled out the chair next to him without a word.
She sat reluctantly.
Did you sleep well? Madame Yue asked with a knowing smile. Yes, thank you, Selena said politely. Madame Yue's eyes twinkled mischievously. I hope you weren't lonely in that big room by yourself. Selena nearly choked on her tea.
I was fine.
Adrian's jaw tightened, but he didn't rise to his grandmother's bait. Instead, he placed his cup down and said evenly, Grandmother, Selena and I have separate rooms.
As we discussed.
Madame Yue feigned surprise. Separate rooms?
But you're newlyweds.
That won't do at all. Grandmother, Adrian warned, his tone icy. Madame Yue only smiled wider. We'll discuss this later. Over the next week, Madame Yue launched a subtle but relentless campaign to push them closer together. At breakfast, she would accidentally set only one place, forcing Selena and Adrian to sit side by side and share dishes. At dinner, she would tell stories of her own youthful romance, ending with a wistful sigh and a pointed look at them. She even staged small emergencies, like a broken heater in Selena's wing, so that Selena had no choice but to temporarily stay in Adrian's side of the house. Your grandmother is relentless, Selena muttered one evening, curling up on the couch with a blanket. She was half amused, half exasperated. Adrian sat in an armchair across from her, looking uncharacteristically weary. She's determined to get her way, he admitted. She always has been. Selena studied him quietly. In the soft glow of the lamp, the sharp edges of his face softened. She saw the man beneath the powerful CEO, the boy who had once been shaped by this house, by this formidable woman. Why did you agree to this marriage? She asked suddenly. Really? Adrian's gaze flicked to hers, dark and intense. For a moment, Selena thought he might actually tell her the truth. Then his walls slammed back into place. It doesn't matter, he said curtly. We both got what we needed. Selena's heart sank. She turned away, hating the sting of disappointment. She shouldn't care. This was a business arrangement, nothing more. So why did it hurt? 2 nights later, Madame Yue unveiled her boldest scheme yet. It's my birthday, she announced dramatically over dinner. I want the two of you to perform a traditional waltz for our guests. Together. Selena nearly dropped her chopsticks. Waltz? Madame Yue, I don't know how to dance like that. Adrian's brows knitted in annoyance. Grandmother, this isn't necessary. It is to me, Madame Yue said firmly. A dance symbolizes harmony and unity in marriage. You will do this for me. And so, after dinner, Selena found herself standing awkwardly in the ballroom, surrounded by gilded mirrors and chandeliers. Adrian stood opposite her, looking effortlessly graceful even in his rolled-up sleeves. This is ridiculous, Selena muttered, folding her arms. Agreed, Adrian said dryly. But if we don't at least try, she'll never let it go. He stepped forward, offering his hand.
May I?
Selena hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His palm was warm, his grip firm but gentle. Just follow my lead, he murmured. The music began softly. Adrian guided her through the steps, his movements precise and confident. Selena stumbled at first, but soon they found a rhythm. Their bodies moved in sync, his arms secure around her waist, his breath brushing her temple. She told herself it was just practice. Just a performance. But when she met his gaze, something unspoken passed between them, something dangerous. Her pulse quickened. His hand lingered at her back a moment too long. When the music ended, they stood frozen, inches apart, the air crackling with tension. Selena's lips parted, but no words came. Adrian stepped back abruptly, his face shuddered. That's enough for tonight. Later, Selena couldn't sleep. She paced her room, replaying the dance over and over in her mind. This is getting out of hand, she told herself.
We need boundaries.
Just then, the storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows. A loud crash echoed through the house. Selena's heart jumped. She grabbed a robe and hurried toward the noise, only to run straight into Adrian in the hallway. Stay here, he ordered, his voice sharp with authority. No, Selena said stubbornly. I'm coming with you. They followed the sound to the west wing. A tree branch had shattered one of the balcony windows, scattering glass everywhere. As the staff scrambled to clean up, Madame Yue appeared,
clutching her chest dramatically.
My nerves, she gasped.
I can't possibly sleep alone after such a fright. Selena rushed to her side. Madam Yue, you're safe. It's just a broken window. The old woman clutched Selena's hand, eyes gleaming with mischief. Then you and Adrian must stay together tonight. For my peace of mind. Selena froze. Adrian's jaw tightened.
Grandmother, he began.
No arguments. Madam Yue declared.
Go.
Both of you. Their temporary refuge turned out to be a small guest suite with only one bed. Selena crossed her arms. I'll take the couch. There is no couch, Adrian said flatly, surveying the tiny room. I'll sleep on the floor. You'll hurt your back. And you'll be uncomfortable. They stared at each other, frustration sparking. Finally, Selena huffed.
Fine.
We'll share the bed. But stay on your side.
Gladly.
They lay stiffly, back to back, listening to the rain pound against the roof. Selena tried to focus on her breathing, on anything but the heat radiating from the mun beside her. But sometime after midnight, the storm knocked the power out. Selena startled awake, disoriented in the darkness. Lightning flashed, illuminating Adrian's face inches from hers. His eyes were wide open, intense. Before either of them could think, the moment ignited like a flame. Their lips collided, hungry, desperate, inevitable. The kiss deepened, years of restraint unraveling in an instant. Adrian's hands cupped her face, her fingers tangled in his hair. It was wild, unplanned, unstoppable. Clothes fell away. The storm outside became a blur as they finally surrendered to the pull that had been simmering between them since the day they met. The sunlight streaming through the curtains was too bright, too honest. Selena Brooks blinked awake, disoriented for half a second before the memories hit her like a wave. The storm. The kiss. The way Adrian's hands had burned against her skin as if he couldn't get close enough. Her heart thudded painfully.
Oh no. Oh no, no, no.
She turned her head cautiously. Adrian was awake, sitting on the edge of the bed with his back to her. His broad shoulders were tense, the muscles in his neck corded. Selena opened her mouth, but no sound came. The intimacy of last night now felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. Adrian, she whispered. He didn't turn. It shouldn't have happened. The words sliced through her, clean and cruel. She sat up quickly, clutching the sheet to her chest.
Oh, right.
Of course, she said lightly, forcing a brittle smile. It was a mistake. His head snapped slightly at her tone, but he didn't argue. Instead, he stood and began dressing with methodical precision. We need to keep things professional. For both our sakes. Professional. Selena wanted to laugh, or maybe scream. How could he sound so cold when her whole body still hummed with the memory of his touch? Before she could respond, a knock sounded on the door. Madam Yue's voice followed, sing-song and suspiciously sweet. Breakfast is ready, lovebirds. Selena groaned. She's never going to let us live this down. Adrian's jaw tightened.
We don't have time to dwell on this. Get dressed. Breakfast was a masterclass in awkwardness.
Madam Yue's sharp eyes darted between them, her knowing smirk growing with each passing second. Selena could barely focus on her congee, her mind swirling. Halfway through the meal, a butler entered with a quiet bow. Master Adrian, a guest has arrived. She says you'll want to see her personally. Adrian frowned.
Who?
The butler hesitated. Miss Jolly. The name hit like a thunderclap. Adrian went utterly still. Selena glanced between him and Madam Yue, confusion prickling. Who's Jolly? Adrian didn't answer. Madam Yue's smirk vanished, replaced by thinly veiled displeasure. So, she's finally crawled back. Selena's stomach dropped. Crawl back? She looked at Adrian again, but his face was a mask. Excuse me, he said abruptly, standing. Selena, stay here. No, Selena blurted, standing too. If this affects me, or us, I deserve to know. Adrian's eyes darkened. Selena. Madam Yue clapped her hands. Let her go, Adrian. It will be entertaining. Selena didn't like the glint in the old woman's eyes, but she didn't back down. She followed Adrian to the receiving hall, her pulse hammering. The moment they stepped inside, Selena understood. Jolly was breathtaking. She stood like a queen in an ivory coat,
her long black hair cascading over her shoulders. Her beauty was cold and precise, like a blade honed to perfection. "Adrian," she breathed, her voice trembling just enough to seem vulnerable. "It's been so long." Selena froze beside him, her throat dry. This wasn't just some random woman. This was someone important. "Jolly," Adrian said stiffly. His tone was clipped, but Selena noticed the faint tremor in his hands. "Why are you here?" Jolly's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I made a mistake leaving. I thought I was doing what was best for us. But when I heard about your marriage..." Her gaze flicked to Selena, dismissive and sharp. "I knew I couldn't stay away." Selena's chest tightened. So this was the woman who had once held Adrian's heart. Adrian's expression hardened. "You heard correctly. I'm married now." "Yes," Jolly said softly. "But I know you, Adrian. This isn't real. You would never marry for love so suddenly. This is a business arrangement." Selena flinched, the words slicing deep. She hated how accurate they were. Adrian's silence was damning. Jolly stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm. "We can fix this. We can go back to how things were." No, his rejection was sharp, almost brutal. "The past is dead, Jolly." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I still love you." Selena couldn't take it anymore. "Excuse me," she said loudly, stepping forward. "Maybe it's time you left." Jolly turned on her, her poise cracking. "And you must be the stand-in bride. Do you really think he loves you? You're just a pawn in whatever game he's playing." Selena's fists clenched. "At least I'm not the one who walked away." Jolly's smile was venomous. "Careful, darling. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into." Adrian moved between them, his presence commanding. "Enough. Jolly, leave. Now." After Jolly finally stormed out, the silence in the hall was suffocating. Selena crossed her arms, struggling to breathe evenly. "Who is she, Adrian? And don't you dare say no one." Adrian's hands curled into fists at his sides. "She's my past. That's all you need to know." "No," Selena snapped. "If I'm going to keep up this charade, I need the truth." Adrian's eyes burned. For a moment, she thought he might finally break. Then his walls slammed back into place. "Drop it, Selena." Selena's anger flared, mingled with something far more dangerous. Hurt. "You think you can just shut me out? After what happened last night?" Adrian froze. His gaze flicked to her lips, then away. "Last night was a mistake." Selena's breath caught. Her chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out her heart. "Right," she said coldly. "A mistake. Good to know." She turned on her heel and stormed away before he could see her tears. That night, Selena sat alone on the balcony, staring at the glittering city lights below. Her phone buzzed with a message. Her breath hitched when she saw the sender. "Unknown number. If you want to know the truth about Adrian, meet me tomorrow. Alone." She stared at the message, unease coiling in her stomach. Could it be Jolly? Or someone else entirely? "Secrets on top of secrets," she whispered bitterly. Behind her, the shadows shifted. She didn't see Adrian standing in the doorway, watching her with an expression torn between longing and regret. He clenched his fists. "I can't lose control. Not now. Not when she's in danger." Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Jolly sat in a sleek black car, her face illuminated by the glow of her phone. "She took the bait," Jolly said with a sly smile. "Selena will come." The man in the driver's seat glanced at her. "Are you sure this is wise? Adrian is dangerous." Jolly's eyes gleamed. "So am I. And if I can't have Adrian, no one can." The night air was cold, sharp enough to bite. Selena stood outside the Yue mansion, phone clutched tightly in her hand. The mysterious text message from the unknown number still glowed on the screen. "If you want to know the truth about Adrian, meet me tomorrow. Alone." She hadn't told Adrian. She couldn't. Not when he had been so determined to keep his secrets. Her heart still ached from his cruel words. Last night was a mistake. If he wouldn't tell her the truth, she would find it herself. But as she waited for the car she'd called to take her to the meeting location, doubt gnawed at her. What if this is a mistake? What if it's Jolly trying to mess with me? The thought of Jolly's flawless face and cutting words made Selena's hands clench. "I have to know," she whispered to herself. "I deserve to know." Meanwhile, Adrian Yue stood in his study, staring at a set of documents he couldn't focus on. Ever since Jia Li's unexpected return, he'd been on edge. Too many things didn't add up. Her timing, her sudden claim of regret, the way she had zeroed in on Selena like a predator. And Selena? He dragged a hand through his hair, frustration boiling beneath his cold exterior. The memory of last night haunted him. Her soft gasps, the way she had melted against him, how for one fleeting moment he'd allowed himself to feel. Then he'd ruined it. He had pushed her away, telling her it was a mistake. Because it has to be a mistake, he told himself harshly. She deserves better than the darkness in my life. A knock at the door interrupted his spiraling thoughts.
"Come in," Adrian barked.
The butler entered, bowing slightly. "Sir, Madame Yue is asking for you. She says Dr. Brooks is nowhere to be found." Adrian's head snapped up. "What do you mean, nowhere to be found?" "She left the house some time ago. No driver was requested." She appeared, agitated. Cold dread flooded Adrian's veins. Selena wouldn't just disappear.
Unless.
He grabbed his coat, his mind already racing.
If Jia Li is behind this.
Selena's cab dropped her off at an abandoned industrial district on the outskirts of Shanghai. She frowned, clutching her coat tighter. The location didn't make sense. It was far from the elegant cafes and restaurants where she'd expected to meet someone. The street was eerily silent, lit only by a few flickering street lamps. "Hello?" she called, her voice echoing faintly. A figure emerged from the shadows. "Dr. Brooks," a smooth, feminine voice purred. "Right on time." Selena's breath caught.
"Jia Li."
The other woman approached, perfectly composed despite the grim surroundings. Her ivory coat seemed almost to glow in the darkness, a stark contrast to her predatory smile. "You're the one who texted me?" Selena demanded, anger overriding her fear.
"Why?"
Jia Li tilted her head. "Because you deserve to know the truth about the man you married. Adrian Yue isn't who you think he is."
Selena's pulse raced.
"Then tell me."
"Oh, I will," Jia Li said sweetly.
"But first, a little insurance." Two men stepped out of the shadows behind her, both large and imposing. Selena instinctively backed up, but one grabbed her arm in a bruising grip. "Let me go," she shouted, struggling. Jia Li's smile widened. "Don't be so dramatic, darling.
You're not in danger, yet.
I simply need Adrian to come to me."
"And you're the bait."
Selena's stomach dropped. "You're insane."
"No," Jia Li said calmly.
"I'm in love." Adrian's car screeched to a halt outside the abandoned district. His men, dressed in dark tactical gear, jumped out immediately, weapons at the ready. Adrian himself emerged like a storm given form, his expression lethal. "Fan out," he ordered.
"She's here."
"Find her." His right-hand man, Wei, jogged up beside him. "Boss, we traced a signal from her phone. It's coming from that warehouse." Adrian's gaze snapped to the crumbling building ahead. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap, but Selena was inside. That was all that mattered. "Cover me," he growled. Inside the warehouse, Selena struggled against her captors. Her wrists were bound, her mouth dry with terror and fury. Jia Li circled her like a viper. "You really think Adrian loves you?"
Jia Li sneered.
"He doesn't even know how to love."
"He's mine, Selena."
"He always will be." Selena glared at her. "If he's really yours, why do you have to kidnap me to prove it?" The remark hit its mark. Jia Li's face twisted with rage. "You think you're clever. But you have no idea what he's done, what we've both done." Before Selena could respond, the warehouse doors exploded inward with a deafening crash. Adrian stormed in, flanked by his men. His presence filled the space, a dark angel descending from the night. "Jia Li," he roared, his voice like thunder. "Let her go." Jia Li's smile returned, cold and triumphant.
"Adrian."
Right on time. She pressed a small remote in her hand. Behind her, a red digital timer lit up on a device strapped to one of the support beams. Selena's blood turned to ice.
"A bomb," she whispered.
Adrian's fury sharpened to a deadly edge. "You've gone too far, Jia Li." "Far," she laughed, hysterical now. "I gave you everything. And you threw me away for her." She pointed at Selena like an accusation. "Well, if I can't have you, no one will." Adrian moved like lightning. "Get Selena," he barked to his men as he lunged for Jolly. Chaos erupted. Gunfire rattled through the air as Adrian's men clashed with Jolly's hired thugs. Selena was dragged toward safety by Wei, but her eyes never left Adrian. He fought with brutal precision, disarming one of Jolly's men and turning the weapon on another. But Jolly slipped away, darting toward the exit. Adrian gave chase, tackling her to the ground just as she tried to trigger the bomb remotely. The remote skittered across the floor, out of reach. "It's over, Jolly," Adrian hissed, pinning her wrists. She glared up at him, wild and broken. "You'll regret this."
"No," he said coldly.
"I regret ever trusting you." His men secured her while Adrian raced back to Selena. The bomb's timer read 0:30. Adrian scooped Selena into his arms without hesitation. "Hold on to me."
"Adrian," she began.
"Now, Selena." They burst through the warehouse doors just as an explosion ripped through the building, a fiery bloom lighting up the night. Debris rained down around them as Adrian shielded her with his body, hitting the ground hard. When the smoke finally cleared, Selena found herself trembling in his arms. "Are you hurt?" Adrian demanded, scanning her frantically.
"No," she whispered.
You saved me." His jaw clenched, emotion flashing in his usually cold eyes. "I'll always save you." Before she could respond, police sirens wailed in the distance. Jolly was dragged past them in restraints, screaming Adrian's name like a curse. Selena clung to him, overwhelmed. Why would she do this? Adrian hesitated, his throat working. "Because of me. Because of a past I should have destroyed long ago." He stood, still holding her close. "But I promise you this, Selena, I'll never let her hurt you again." Back at the mansion later that night, Selena sat on the edge of her bed, replaying everything in her mind. The danger. The explosion. Adrian's arms around her. A knock sounded at her door. "Selena." Adrian's voice came, rough and low. "May I come in?" Her heart raced.
"Yes."
He entered, shadows clinging to him like a second skin. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he sank to one knee before her, his hands trembling. "I should have told you everything from the start," he said hoarsely.
"About Jolly. About who I am.
About the enemies I've made." Selena reached out, cupping his face. "Then tell me now." Adrian closed his eyes, leaning into her touch.
"I will.
But first, promise me something."
"What?"
"No more secrets between us. Ever." Selena nodded, tears burning her eyes. "I promise." And for the first time, Adrian allowed himself to hope. The morning light filtered softly through the silk curtains of Selena's room, but it did nothing to quiet the storm raging inside her. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jolly's wild face, the timer ticking down, the explosion that could have killed them both.
And Adrian.
The way he'd held her so tightly as though she were the only thing keeping him grounded. A soft knock broke through her thoughts. "Selena." Adrian's deep voice came from the other side of the door. "May I come in?" Her heart gave a painful thud.
"Yes."
The door opened, and Adrian stepped inside, looking sharper than he had any right to after the night they'd had. His black shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, his usually immaculate hair slightly mussed. But his eyes, those dark, stormy eyes, were tired, haunted. He carried 2 cups of tea, setting one gently in front of her before taking the chair opposite her bed. "You need to eat," he said quietly. "You didn't have dinner last night." Selena wrapped her hands around the warm porcelain.
"I couldn't."
"Not after."
Her voice cracked.
Adrian reached forward instinctively, his hand covering hers.
"You're safe now," he said, his tone low and fierce.
"I swear to you, Selena, no one will ever hurt you again."
"Safe." She gave a hollow laugh.
"Adrian, last night wasn't random. Jolly didn't just decide to go crazy out of nowhere. She knew where I'd be, how to get to me. Someone gave her that information." She looked at him, trembling. "Who are you really, Adrian? And why is your past trying to kill us?" Adrian's jaw tightened. For a long moment, he said nothing, his gaze fixed on some point beyond her. Then, with visible effort, he spoke. "I wasn't always the man you see now," he began, his voice distant, almost cold. "My parents died when I was young. Madame Yue raised me, but she couldn't protect me from everything. By the time I was 21, I'd inherited a failing family company drowning in debt. We were one scandal away from ruin.
Selena listened, her pulse racing. I made choices, Adrian continued. Hard choices. Deals with people I shouldn't have trusted. Jolly was part of that world.
She wasn't just my lover.
She was my ally. My equal.
His lips curled in bitterness. Or so I thought.
Selena's stomach twisted. What happened?
Adrian's hands clenched into fists. When Yue Holdings was at its lowest point, I discovered Jolly had been working with my competitors all along. Feeding them information. Undermining me from within.
Selena gasped.
She betrayed you.
She destroyed me, he said flatly.
And when the company finally collapsed, she left. Disappeared overseas with a man who had been backing her the whole time. I rebuilt Yue Holdings from nothing while she lived in luxury on the blood money she stole from me.
His eyes burned with rage. And now she's back.
Not because she loves me, Selena, but because I've become powerful again. She wants control. If she can't have it, she'll burn everything to the ground. Selena's tea turned cold in her hands. The puzzle pieces fell into place with horrifying clarity. She kidnapped me, because of you. Adrian's throat worked.
Yes.
And I will never forgive myself for putting you in danger. Selena reached out, taking his trembling hand in both of hers. This isn't your fault, Adrian.
Jolly made her choices. And so did I.
I chose to be here with you. His eyes softened, vulnerability flickering through the darkness. You still want to be here? After everything?
I do, she whispered.
But I need you to be honest with me. No more secrets. Adrian cupped her face, his touch almost reverent. No more secrets. I swear it. For a moment, the tension between them was electric, their breaths mingling. Selena wanted him to kiss her, to erase the fear and chaos with one touch. But before they could close the distance, Wei burst through the door.
Boss, he shouted, breathless.
We've got a problem. Adrian shot to his feet, fury flashing. What now? Wei's face was grim. Jolly escaped police custody. Selena's blood ran cold.
Escaped? How? She had help, Wei said darkly.
Our sources say someone inside the force was paid off. She's gone, and she took something with her, documents from the evidence locker. Adrian's jaw turned to stone. What kind of documents? Wei hesitated. Financial records. Ones that implicate Yue Holdings. Selena's head snapped toward Adrian. Implicate you how? They don't, Adrian snarled. But Jolly will twist them to look like they do. She's trying to destroy me all over again. The three of them moved to Adrian's private office, a sprawling room lined with bookshelves and glowing computer monitors. Maps and charts covered the walls, evidence of the network Adrian used to maintain control of his empire. Selena stared, realizing just how vast his reach truly was. Adrian Yue wasn't just a businessman, he was a strategist, a man who had clawed his way to the top through sheer brilliance and ruthlessness. Wei laid a file on the desk. We have intel that Jolly is planning something big. A public attack, maybe during the upcoming Yue Holdings gala. Selena's breath caught. The gala where Madame Yue plans to introduce me as Adrian's wife. Adrian's eyes went cold. Over my dead body. Selena turned to him, panic rising. Adrian, she's unhinged. If she's willing to kidnap me, what else is she capable of? He took her hands in his grip firm. Listen to me. Jolly feeds on fear. That's how she wins. We will not hide, Selena. We'll face her head on.
Wei frowned.
That's risky, boss. Adrian's gaze never wavered from Selena's. I've been playing defense for too long. It's time to take the fight to her. Later that night, Selena stood on the balcony outside her room, staring at the glittering Shanghai skyline. She wanted to believe Adrian could protect them. But Jia Li's hatred was like a storm brewing on the horizon, inevitable, destructive. Behind her, the balcony door slid open. Adrian stepped out, the cool night breeze ruffling his dark hair. Couldn't sleep. Selena shook her head. Too much on my mind. He moved to stand beside her, his presence a comforting weight. You don't have to face this alone, he said quietly. Not anymore. Selena turned to him, her heart aching. Adrian, what if she wins? What if she tears us apart? His expression softened, a rare crack in his icy armor.
She won't.
Because no matter what she throws at us, we'll fight together. The promise in his voice wrapped around her like a shield. In that moment, Selena knew she was no longer just a pawn in someone else's game. She was a player. She slid her arms around his waist, resting her head against his chest. Then let's fight. Together. Adrian kissed the top of her head, his own heart pounding. Together. But far across the city, Jolly stood in a darkened room, watching a surveillance feed of Adrian and Selena on the balcony. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into her palms until blood bloomed. You think you've won, Adrian, she hissed. You think she makes you untouchable? She turned to a shadowy figure lurking behind her. Prepare everything. At the gala, I will ruin them both. And when the ashes settle, Adrian, you will be mine again. The figure nodded silently before disappearing into the darkness. Jolly's smile was sharp and cruel. No one leaves me, Adrian. Not even you. The Yue Holdings Gala was the kind of event people whispered about for weeks. Tonight, the grand ballroom at Shanghai's most luxurious hotel gleamed with gold chandeliers, polished marble floors, and crystal centerpieces worth more than most people's annual salary. Every guest wore their finest, a blur of glittering gowns and tailored suits. Selena Brooks stood at the edge of it all, her heart thundering beneath the deep emerald silk of her evening gown. She barely recognized herself in the mirror earlier, her hair swept up into a sleek bun, diamonds glimmering at her throat, a vision of elegance and power. But beneath the glamorous exterior, she was trembling. Adrian appeared beside her, his dark suit impeccably tailored, his commanding presence drawing every eye in the room. He took her hand in his, squeezing gently. You look breathtaking, he murmured, his deep voice cutting through the noise. Selena forced a smile. And you look like a man ready to go to war. That's because I am. His eyes scanned the crowd, sharp and calculating. Jolly will strike tonight. I can feel it. Wei approached from across the room, earpiece glinting under the lights. Security is tight. My men are stationed at every exit. No one gets in or out without my say-so. Adrian nodded. Good. Keep an eye on her family's people, too. Jolly never works alone. Selena's fingers tightened around Adrian's hand. Do you really think she'd try something here? With all these people? Adrian's gaze darkened. Jolly thrives on spectacle. If she wants to ruin me, she'll do it where everyone can see. Madame Yue swept into the ballroom like a queen, her silver silk gown flowing behind her. Despite her frail health, her spirit was unyielding. My grandchildren, she exclaimed, embracing Adrian and Selena. Tonight, everyone will see what a perfect pair you make. Selena's cheeks heated. She hadn't yet told Madame Yue about Jolly's threats. The last thing they needed was to worsen her fragile heart. Grandmother, Adrian said smoothly, why don't you sit near the stage? Wei will keep you safe. Madame Yue frowned but obeyed. You always worry too much, Adrian. It's just a party. Adrian and Selena exchanged a look. If only she knew. The evening unfolded in a blur of introductions, polite laughter, and veiled power plays. Selena tried to focus on her role as Adrian's wife, smiling for photos, shaking hands with influential investors. But every time she caught a flash of movement in the crowd, her stomach clenched. Then it happened. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. And then everything went black. Gasps filled the ballroom. A woman screamed. Selena's breath caught as Adrian's strong arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her close. Stay with me, he ordered. A single spotlight snapped on, illuminating the stage. And there she was. Jolly. Dressed in a blood-red gown, her beauty striking and dangerous, like a rose hiding thorns. Her smile was pure malice as she addressed the stunned crowd. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, she purred. I hope you've enjoyed the festivities so far. But the real show is about to begin. Gasps rippled through the room as two masked men dragged a struggling man onto the stage. Selena's heart stopped. It was one of Adrian's key executives, the man responsible for Yue Holdings' most sensitive financial data. Jolly, don't do this. Adrian roared, stepping forward. Oh, Adrian. Jolly's laughter was sharp and cruel. Always so dramatic. I simply want to tell these lovely people the truth about their golden boy. She held up a thick folder, waving it like a trophy. Inside these documents are records of Adrian Yue's dealings with dangerous foreign entities. Fraud. Embezzlement. Crimes that could destroy his precious empire. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Selena's eyes widened. That's a lie.
Of course it's a lie, Adrian growled.
She forged those records. Jia Li's smile didn't falter. Believe what you wish. But by the end of tonight, everyone will know Adrian Yue for what he truly is, a fraud. Wei's voice crackled through Adrian's earpiece. Boss, she's got backup stationed at the east exit. Armed men. We need to get Madame Yue out now. Do it, Adrian hissed. I'll handle Jia Li. He turned to Selena, cupping her face in both hands. Stay behind me. No matter what. Selena nodded, though her heart threatened to burst from her chest. Adrian mounted the stage, his presence a dark storm against Jia Li's fiery glow. You want to ruin me, Jia Li?
Fine.
But leave everyone else out of this. Leave everyone out, she echoed, her voice trembling with rage. Like you left me? Like you abandoned me when I had nothing. You left me. Adrian shouted, his control finally cracking. You chose greed over love, Jia Li. And now you're destroying innocent lives because you can't face the truth. Her face twisted, fury overtaking her beauty. No one leaves me, Adrian.
Not you.
Not her. Before anyone could react, she pulled a small detonator from her gown. Step any closer, and this entire place goes up in flames. Gasps and screams erupted. The ballroom descended into chaos as guests scrambled for the exits. Jia Li, think. Selena cried, stepping forward despite Adrian's grip. There are hundreds of people here. If you do this, you'll kill them all. Jia Li's eyes flicked to Selena, burning with hatred. You took everything from me, she spat. Adrian's love. His loyalty. His future. So now, I'll take everything from you. Wei's voice rang in Adrian's ear. Boss, my team has Madame Yue secure, but we can't reach you in time. You've got 2 minutes before that thing blows. Adrian's mind raced. 2 minutes. Hundreds of lives. And the woman he loved standing in the crossfire. He released Selena reluctantly, his voice low and urgent. When I move, run for the far exit. Don't look back.
No.
Selena gripped his arm, tears streaming down her face. I'm not leaving you. You have to, Selena.
His voice broke.
If I don't make it out.
Don't you dare say that, she cried.
We fight together, remember? Adrian stared at her for a heartbeat, then nodded. Together. In a blur of motion, he lunged at Jia Li. The detonator flew from her hand, skittering across the stage. Wei's men burst through the doors at the same moment, tackling Jia Li's guards. Selena sprinted for the detonator, her lungs burning. Her fingers closed around it just as the timer flashed 0:05. Adrian, she screamed, hurling it toward him. He caught it and slammed the override switch Wei had taught him earlier. The timer froze at 0:01. Silence fell over the ballroom, broken only by ragged breaths and sobs of relief. Jia Li let out a guttural scream as Wei's men restrained her. You think this changes anything, she spat, thrashing wildly. I will never stop. I will burn your world to the ground. Adrian stood over her, his chest heaving.
No, Jia Li.
This ends tonight. He turned away, pulling Selena into his arms. She clung to him, trembling, as tears of relief streamed down her cheeks. We did it, she whispered. We stopped her. Adrian buried his face in her hair, his own tears hidden.
No, he said hoarsely.
You stopped her. But as Jia Li was dragged away, a chilling smile spread across her face. You may have won the battle, she hissed, but the war is far from over. Selena shivered. Deep down, she knew Jia Li wasn't finished. Not yet. And as Adrian tightened his grip on her, Selena realized their love story was about to face its greatest test. Here's Chapter 9, weaving Jia Li's final act of vengeance into a seemingly tragic accident. This chapter also delivers the shocking revelation of Selena's pregnancy, setting the stage for the ultimate climax of love and conflict. The morning after the gala was eerily quiet. Shanghai's skyline glistened under a pale dawn, but inside Adrian's penthouse, the atmosphere was heavy with exhaustion and dread. Selena sat curled on the edge of their bed, staring blankly at her reflection in the mirror. Her emerald gown had been replaced with a simple silk robe, but the memory of the previous night clung to her like smoke. The detonator's blinking red light, Jia Li's manic screams, the stampede of terrified guests.
Adrian stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, his silhouette tense and commanding. He hadn't slept. "We have her locked down," he said finally, his voice hoarse. "Wei's men are interrogating her around the clock. She won't escape again." Selena hugged herself, shivering. "You didn't see her face, Adrian. She wasn't finished. Even in chains, she looked triumphant." Adrian turned sharply, kneeling before her. His hands cupped her trembling shoulders. "I swear to you, Selena, she'll never hurt you again. I'll burn the world to ash before I let that happen." Selena wanted to believe him. She wanted to sink into the safety of his promise. But deep down, a gnawing fear whispered that Jolly wasn't through with them. By afternoon, things seemed almost normal. Adrian insisted on taking Selena for a drive along the coast, desperate to clear their minds and escape the suffocating tension of the city. The sleek black car glided down a winding cliffside road, the ocean glittering below. Selena leaned back against the seat, allowing herself to breathe for the first time in days. "It's beautiful out here," she murmured, resting her hand on Adrian's. He glanced at her, his dark eyes softening. "Not as beautiful as you." She laughed, the sound fragile but real. "You're impossible." For a brief, fleeting moment, they felt almost like a normal couple, just Adrian and Selena, not a powerful heir and the woman caught in his war. But miles away, Jolly sat in a dim warehouse, watching the live feed from a hidden camera inside the car. Her smile was slow, cold, and venomous. "Enjoy your drive, darling," she whispered. "It will be your last." She turned to the mechanic standing beside her. "Trigger it when they reach the third bend. Make it look like an accident. The world will mourn him, and she'll be blamed." The mechanic hesitated. "And the woman? She'll die too." Jolly's eyes glimmered with hatred. "Especially the woman." Selena's laughter faded as Adrian slowed for a sharp turn. The road curved dangerously close to the cliff's edge, the sea crashing below like a living thing. Suddenly, the steering wheel jerked violently in Adrian's hands. "What the?" he cursed, fighting to regain control. The brakes refused to respond, metal grinding in protest. "Adrian!" Selena screamed, clutching his arm as the car swerved wildly. "Hold on," he shouted, his jaw clenched. He wrestled the wheel, but it was useless. The car hurtled toward the guardrail, the ocean yawning hungrily below. With a final, desperate surge of strength, Adrian wrenched the wheel just enough to slam the car sideways into the rocky embankment instead of plunging into the sea. The impact was brutal. Glass shattered. Metal crumpled. Selena's world went black. When Selena awoke, the world was white and sterile. The rhythmic beep of a heart monitor filled her ears. Panic seized her chest until she saw Adrian sitting beside her, his hand wrapped tightly around hers. His shirt was torn, his face bruised, but he was alive. "Selena," he breathed, his voice breaking. "Thank God. I thought I lost you." She tried to speak, but her throat was raw. "What happened?" "It wasn't an accident," Adrian said bitterly. "Jolly sabotaged the brakes. Wei's men found a device in the wreckage. She planned this." Selena's heart stuttered. "She tried to kill us." Adrian nodded grimly. "And she almost succeeded." Before she could process this, the doctor entered, holding a chart. "Mrs. Yue," he said gently, "I have some news. You're both very fortunate. The crash caused only minor injuries." However, his expression softened into a smile. "In our tests, we discovered you're pregnant. About a few weeks along, congratulations." The room tilted. Selena stared at him, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. "Pregnant?" Adrian froze, shock and awe colliding in his eyes. We're going to have a baby?" Selena's hands trembled as they drifted to her abdomen. "I didn't know." "Adrian, I..." He was on his knees beside the bed in an instant, his forehead resting against her stomach as tears fell silently. "This child," he whispered hoarsely. "Our child. You've given me a future worth protecting." But as joy surged through him, fear gnawed at the edges. Jolly hadn't just tried to kill Selena anymore, she had tried to kill his family. Wei burst into the room, his face dark with rage. "Boss, Jolly escaped during transport to prison. One of our men was compromised." Adrian's entire body went cold. "She planned this," he snarled. "The crash was just her opening move." Selena gripped his hand, her voice shaking. "Adrian, she won't stop.
She'll come for us again, me, the baby. Adrian cupped her face, his own expression raw and desperate. Then I'll end this.
Tonight.
Selena shook her head, tears spilling. You can't face her alone. We fight together, remember? He hesitated, torn between protecting her and honoring her strength. Finally, he nodded. Together. They returned to the penthouse under heavy guard, knowing Jolly would strike soon. Adrian's office became a war room, maps and monitors displaying every lead Wei had gathered. Hours later, a message appeared on Adrian's private screen.
A video feed.
Jolly's face filled the frame, her beauty twisted by rage.
Congratulations, she purred mockingly. A baby. How sweet.
Too bad your happiness will be short-lived. Adrian's fists clenched. Where are you?
Jolly's laugh was chilling. You'll come to me, Adrian. Alone.
Or I'll make sure the whole world sees the evidence I've collected, the kind that will destroy you holdings forever.
The feed cut to black.
Wei cursed. It's a trap.
I don't care, Adrian growled.
She's ending this tonight. Selena stood, pale but resolute.
And so am I.
The confrontation took place in an abandoned dockyard, moonlight casting long, sharp shadows. Jolly waited amid crates and rusting machinery, a gun in her hand. You came, she said, her voice a mixture of triumph and madness. Adrian stepped forward, shielding Selena instinctively. This ends now, Jolly. No, she screamed, aiming the gun at Selena's belly. It only ends when you pay. You took everything from me. Now I'll take everything from you. Don't, Adrian pleaded, his voice breaking.
Please.
This isn't you.
It's exactly me, she spat.
Her finger tightened on the trigger. At the last moment, Wei's team struck, disarming Jolly in a blur of motion. She screamed as she was tackled to the ground, her reign of terror finally over. Selena collapsed into Adrian's arms, sobbing with relief. It's over, she whispered. We're safe. Adrian kissed her fiercely, his tears mingling with hers.
No, Selena. You saved me.
You saved us both. As dawn broke over Shanghai, the couple stood together, their future fragile but bright. For the first time, Adrian allowed himself to dream, not of power or revenge, but of love, family, and a life free from shadows. And as Selena pressed his hand to her belly, they both knew. This was only the beginning. The world outside had changed, but inside the Yue penthouse, everything felt still.
Quiet. Safe.
It had been 3 weeks since Jolly's arrest. Her face was plastered across every news outlet, her crimes laid bare for the world to see, attempted murder, corporate sabotage, and conspiracy. But for Adrian, it wasn't the headlines that mattered. It was the soft, steady rhythm of Selena's breathing as she slept beside him. The fragile rise and fall of her chest. Proof that she was alive, that their child was safe. Adrian lay awake, staring at the ceiling, 1,000 memories swirling through his mind. The moment he first saw Selena in his grandmother's parlor. The way she had challenged him at every turn. The night she nearly died because of his blind trust in the wrong woman. He reached out, his hand brushing gently over Selena's barely there baby bump. Their baby. Their future. Selena stirred, her eyelashes fluttering open. She smiled sleepily. You're awake again, she whispered, her voice husky. You barely sleep these days. I'm afraid if I close my eyes, you'll disappear, Adrian confessed, his voice thick. That I'll wake up and find this was all a dream. Selena cupped his cheek, her touch grounding him.
We're real, Adrian.
I'm not going anywhere. A lump formed in his throat. I almost lost you. And our baby. But you didn't, she said firmly, her green eyes glowing with fierce determination. We survived because we fought together. Adrian kissed her forehead, his heart finally beginning to heal. You're the strongest person I know. Later that morning, Madame Yue arrived at the penthouse, leaning heavily on her cane but radiating her usual regal authority. Her sharp eyes immediately softened when she saw Selena. My dear, she said warmly, taking Selena's hands. You've been through so much. And now, a great-grandchild. Tears glimmered in her eyes. You've brought new life to this family. Selena's smile trembled. I only hope to raise this baby with love. To give them a childhood free from fear. Madame Yue's expression turned grave.
She looked at Adrian. And you, my grandson.
You've done well to protect her. But remember, power means nothing without the heart to wield it wisely. Adrian bowed his head. I understand, grandmother. Jia Li's betrayal taught me that. Madame Yu's lips curved in a rare, tender smile.
Good.
Then perhaps our family has a chance to heal. For the first time in years, Adrian felt a fragile sense of peace settle over them. As the weeks passed, Selena's belly began to swell, a visible reminder of the new chapter unfolding in their lives. Adrian became fiercely protective, accompanying her to every doctor's appointment, learning to cook her favorite meals, and even reading books on fatherhood late into the night. One evening, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the glittering Shanghai skyline, Selena rested her head against Adrian's chest. Do you ever think about what our child's future will be like? She asked softly. All the time, Adrian admitted. I want them to grow up knowing they are loved, not used as a pawn in someone else's game. They will have freedom, Selena. A life without fear or lies. Selena's eyes misted. That's all I've ever wanted, Adrian. He turned her gently to face him, his hands cupping her growing belly. I promise you both, I will be the man you deserve.
No more walls.
No more distance. Tears spilled down Selena's cheeks. You already are. On the night before Jia Li's trial, Adrian received a message from Wei. She wants to see you.
Alone.
Against his better judgment, Adrian went. Jia Li sat in a stark holding cell, her once gorgeous face pale and hollow. When she looked up, there was no hatred, only a haunting emptiness. Adrian, she whispered. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You tried to kill my wife and unborn child, Adrian said coldly. There's no coming back from that. Jia Li's lips trembled. I loved you. That was my mistake. Loving you enough to destroy everything else. He turned away, his heart heavy but resolute.
No, Jia Li.
Your mistake was thinking love could grow from power and control.
Goodbye.
As he walked out, the door closing behind him with a final, echoing thud, Adrian felt the last chain of his past shatter. Months later, Selena lay in a hospital bed, cradling a tiny, swaddled bundle. Their baby boy's cries filled the room with fragile, beautiful life. Adrian stood beside her, utterly undone. He's perfect, he whispered, brushing a fingertip over his son's tiny fist. Selena gazed up at him, her heart overflowing. We made this, Adrian. A piece of both of us. Adrian bent and kissed her deeply, reverently. You've given me everything I never knew I needed. A family. A future. Madame Yue entered quietly, her face radiant with joy. Look at him, she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. The future of the Yue family. For once, there were no schemes. No manipulation. Only love. On a warm spring evening, Adrian stood on the balcony with Selena and their son, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The city lights glittered like stars. Do you ever think, Selena said softly, about how far we've come? From a marriage of convenience to this. Adrian smiled, pulling her close. I think about it every day. And I know one thing for certain.
What's that? She asked, tilting her head.
That no matter what comes next, he said, pressing a kiss to her temple, we'll face it together. You, me, and our son. Always. Selena leaned into him, her heart full. Always. As the baby cooed softly between them, the three of them stood united, a family forged through fire, stronger than the storms they had weathered. And for the first time, their future wasn't just a dream.
It was a promise.